Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast. Um, can you tell me what Arkose Labs does?
Sure. So Arkose Labs is a fraud and abuse prevention company. And really, our job when it comes to combating fraud and abuse is to make it more expensive for the fraudsters and the criminals to attack the merchant than the return on investment they get back from doing so. If we can rise the cost to the point where it's uneconomical, they will simply stop and go attack somebody else instead. So that's what Arkose's technology is designed to do, is to increase the cost for bad actors.
Okay, well, how do you do that?
Yeah, so we have a couple of ways we go about doing this. And when it comes to attacks online, there's obviously a range of factors that go into it. So for example, in kind of a marketplace ecosystem where maybe you have a buyer and a seller, and then you have the platform itself, you can get schemes that range from the attackers trying to break into merchants' accounts. So people that are selling on the platform trying to break into their account to then take money from that account or impersonate them. Or they might be creating a high volume of accounts for the intent of maybe laundering money through a marketplace so they can actually buy and sell to themselves, and with the purpose of cleaning up money. And our technology is designed to inhibit that activity. So we protect key actions like logins and account creation. And what we do is we have two pieces to our platform. We have a risk engine which looks at traffic, and it's categorizing traffic based on, do we think you have good intentions or do we think you have bad intentions? If you have good intentions, of course, we let you in so you can log in or you can create an account. If you have bad intentions based on your behavior, device ID, biometrics, those kind of signals we look at, we step you up into a challenge experience. And we have different kinds of challenges depending on the kind of threat we think you are. So if you're an automated threat, maybe doing credential stuffing attacks on logins, we have one flavor of test. And then if you're maybe a human fraudster that's manually opening accounts for the purpose of doing different forms of fraud, we have kind of time restricting technology, which kind of constricts their efforts and makes the cost uneconomical. So that's kind of a two-sided piece to how our platform works.
Okay, so then what sort of portals and marketplaces utilize your technology?
Yeah, so it ranges, we have some of the more modern kind of gaming platforms that have buyers and sellers in their ecosystem. We have kind of the more traditional auction house kind of approaches. And then there's also kind of in the travel industry nowadays where you have, drivers and you have people that want, passengers and all that kind of stuff. So our technology can be used across any of those kind of flavored, kind of more modern ecosystems on the internet.
And the whole coronavirus has had an impact across all businesses. First of all, how's it impacted your business? And then, and what opportunities has it created? And then how are your customers also then utilizing your technology even better than they were before?
It's a good question. So coronavirus obviously has had profound impacts across pretty much every industry. We are very fortunate in that, we're an online solution. We as a company adopted very quickly. So we went remote work earlier than all the shelter-in-place orders came through. And we did our best, obviously, to onboard our employees to kind of a work-from-home mentality. So we adapted very quickly. So I would say internally to the business, it hasn't had a dramatic impact to my employees, which we're very fortunate for. And when it comes to kind of what we look at from the fraud landscape, we have a very unique perspective because we sit across so many major enterprises that we protect, that we can kind of see like what has changed from a fraud ecosystem perspective. We're seeing a pretty dramatic rise in fraud, about 30% increase across the entire industry.
Really?
However, in specific verticals, we're seeing much larger than that because there's more people online, and the return on investment for the criminals has risen dramatically per attack because the attack surface has grown. So they're actually investing more money in it because they're making more money per individual request than they were pre-COVID. So it's kind of driving this kind of exponential growth in fraud as well.
Okay. Then how are your customers utilizing this differently to before? Is it just purely greater volumes, or are they finding better ways of utilizing it?
Yeah, I'd say it's greater volumes. It's also they're expanding protections to areas beyond where they might typically just use a solution like ours or other solutions. They're starting to think about, okay, so we have technology protecting things like logins and account openings. but maybe we also need to add functionality for sharing features or other parts of the platform that are being used for abusive behavior now as well. So because the attackers are making so much more money on average, they're actually starting to branch out and attack new places that previously they wouldn't have been so interested in doing so.
So
But
your so your business is having to be hyper responsive to new attack threats,
right.
far more than traditionally than would occur.
Correct. So we're growing quite rapidly. And also the companies we work with, we have a number of customers that are in verticals that are doing incredibly well. So we have a lot of tech companies we work with. So we're venture backed by Microsoft and PayPal. We work with both of them. We protect a lot of Microsoft properties, which, they're one of the largest, B2B platforms in the world. And their business has grown very quickly as well. We also work with a lot of big video game merchants, and the video game industry obviously is exponentially growing because everyone's at home playing games as opposed to at school and things like that. Yeah. So, we've just seen dramatic rises in online traffic that also, of course, is turning into an exponential growth in fraud.
So then, do you think this is a permanent change? So even though the lockdown requirements around the world will clearly ease over time, from your perspective, you think there's going to be more of this work from home, more utilization of online, and then secondly, what's next for you guys?
Yeah, so I think COVID definitely will lead to permanent changes in the ecosystem. So, we as a business are definitely far more open to things like remote work because it's worked so well for us. And I think a lot of companies will be seeing the same thing. We're here in San Francisco. The cost of rent in San Francisco is not cheap. So if we can get, smaller offices and have people on, rotation or whatever they want to do, really at the end of the day, it comes up to the employees what they would like to do long term. But we're definitely open to that. And I'm sure a lot of other companies will be as well. And when it comes to kind of online transactions, there's a whole bunch of transactions going from traditional in-store payment to now online card not present transactions. So for example, the curb pickup options that a lot of stores are now offering, that's a card not present transaction when historically those kind of transactions were done in store. So more and more businesses have been forced to adopt online purchases and payments where they previously didn't do it at all. So I think post-COVID, of course, they're going to keep accepting these payment options, right? So I think in general, we've kind of brute forced a lot of businesses that weren't really digital to now coming digital. And of course, that's going to have a rise in fraud permanently online as well. These are also merchants that don't traditionally have a good mentality around fraud mitigation online because they haven't done it. So I think there's going to be some big changes there.
And then what about so you roll the clock forward 3 or 4, 5 years. What does that mean for Arkose Labs?
Yeah, I mean, we've been very fortunate to, with our technology, fill a large vacuum of demand in the space. We built technology that really is fundamentally designed to inhibit the cost economics for bad activities versus just trying to defeat a single attack or try and give you more insight on a specific attack. We're really there to stop the incentive in the first place. And we've had, tremendous growth. We grew 400% last year, and we're continuing to grow at rapid pace. Here, one of the highest growing companies in this industry, in fact, right now. And we really are very proud of the work that we've done to help really move the needle forward for fraud prevention in the industry, and we'll continue to do so.
So, and so the last question is, why Arkose Labs as a name?
So Arkose, so we founded the company in Australia. I'm an Australian, as you may have noticed, and Arkose is actually the rock sediment in Uluru, which is the big rock in the middle of Australia. That the big giant red rock. Some people may be familiar associating Australia with. So we wanted a brand name that we could kind of own and build from scratch. And Arkose represents rocks, very stable, good things for security, mitigation, defense. We thought it was an appropriate name. It's also a word that isn't really known globally. So because we can kind of build our brand on top of that name, as opposed to people thinking, oh, it's a rock and it's also a security company. People think of us as a security company first, and then they're pleasantly surprised to hear we're a rock as well. And it's just a small tie back to our founding heritage.
Okay. Kevin, thank you very much. Good.